Hello everyone, Charles Watts here. I'm here at London Colney for a day of media activities ahead of tomorrow night's game against Sevilla in the Champions League. We've got Mikel Arteta's press conference coming up. Nketiah will be talking as well, and then we'll be heading out to all the pitches behind me here for some open training where we should get some very good insights into who's going to be playing and who's not, more importantly, going to be playing in that game at the Emirates tomorrow night. So plenty to come here at London Colney.
Three days, yeah. I mean, this was supposed to go on. We had something on Friday.
Hello everyone, Charles Watts here. Welcome to London Colney, Arsenal's training centre. Of course, we've just been speaking to Mikel Arteta and Nketiah in his pre-match press conference ahead of tomorrow's game against Sevilla in the Champions League. As you can imagine, there was lots to talk about in Mikel Arteta's press conference, given what happened on Saturday, given all the fallout that has happened since Saturday. So I thought I'd pop in here, talk a little bit about what he had to say. We've got open training coming up as well. I hope you can hear me here. Got the air conditioning be blasted into the indoor pitch behind me, so I hope you can hear me over that. We are heading over for some for a open training session in about an hour's time, where we'll get to see who is training ahead of that game against Sevilla. We only get about 15 minutes to watch. We don't get to see too much. It's all very carefully managed, as you can imagine, but we should get a bit of a clue as to whether Martin Odegaard should feature. Mikel Arteta has been speaking about him in his press conference, so I'll go over what he's had to say about that. Other than that, I'm not expecting anyone else to be in that training session that would be viewed as a surprise. So Thomas Partey, Gabriel Jesus, in fact, has already been ruled out by Mikel Arteta in today's press conference. So he's not going to be around. Emil Smith-Rowe, I highly doubt will be either. So we'll wait and see. I will record. If you stay on to the end of this video, I'll put up some of the videos I take from the training session as well. I imagine the players are going to be pretty far away from me, because that tends to be the way when Mikel Arteta holds these sessions. But in terms of today's press conference, the big talking point, of course, was what happened on Saturday. This was our first chance to speak to Mikel after the events of St James's Park, after Arsenal released their statement backing him on Saturday. I don't know, I wasn't quite sure what to expect when I turned up here, just how much he was going to talk about it. I knew he was going to have to. He couldn't not, because of how big a story it had become, because Arsenal had put that statement out. He had to say something. It was just a question about how much he was going to say before he tried to move on the conversation. And it was certainly interesting what he said. I thought he spoke very well about it, in fact. I thought he really, really did. He said, in terms of the sort of impact on the club's statement, he said, I think that the support that we have given to everybody, and I continue to do that, that is not going to change. I'm going to be there. If I have to talk to anybody, I will be in any meeting trying to reinforce everything. We all want the same, but we have to understand that it has to be there. And if you guys and everybody in football wants us to be there, we have to give our opinion, and we have to hear our opinion in an honest and clear way, and don't talk about other things. Got to be respectful, be clear and honest, and value what we have, and make sure we continue evolving the game the way we want, and that is it. And he talked a lot about that, evolving the game. I think this was kind of the reasons he gave as to why he was so forthright, why he came out so vehemently against what happened in view. He labelled it a disgrace, obviously, and he says, there was a great line from it. I'll try and bring it up. When he talks about it, I haven't got it there, but he talks about how he says you have to be loud. If you have a problem, you can't just put it in a drawer, because that drawer will start to stink. He says you have to be loud. If you've got an opinion, you have to share it, and you have to be truthful in what you've got to say. And that was his kind of reasoning for what he did on Saturday, and why he said what he said. There was no backing down. In fact, he didn't row back on it. He basically said, we will do the same thing. I will do the same thing, and the club will do the same thing, and we will continue to push for change. And he talked about evolving the game, and that if the game is going to evolve, if the game is going to get better, if officiating is going to get better, if the way the PGMOL operates VAR is going to get better, then people need to talk and share their opinions if they have it. There was no regret from Mikel Arteta at all. You really got that sense from him today. He was determined he wasn't going to row back. He wasn't going to go back on what he said, and he was going to stand up there. He was going to own it, and I thought he owned it very, very well. I thought he spoke very well. That's not going to satisfy a lot of people. Obviously, a lot of people have their own opinions on it. We've heard that over the last couple of days from very big, high-profile people in the football industry. they're not going to change their views from what Mikel Arteta had to say. But I did think what he did say, he said it very, very well, and I thought he came across well, and he owned it well. And I think that's all you can really kind of ask for, I suppose. And when he was asked, how do you stop these errors happening? What can we do to stop errors like the one that he believes happened at the weekend happen? He said, look, errors are part of the evolution. The trajectory is never going to be like this. There are always bumps along the road, and maybe these things are very necessary to help improve the game in the right way. But we have to talk loudly. If we have a problem, let's talk about it. Let's try and improve it in a very constructive way. That's it. That is what we are trying to do here. And I think the message that came across was he was saying what he said, what Arsenal have said. They're not doing it from an Arsenal point of view. They're doing it from a football point of view. And he said he kind of felt like he would think that we all have to come together here to get the change we want. And I think it's obvious that a lot of us do want change and think that change is needed. And until that happens, then we're going to continue to see these sort of things happening in football. So that's what the main sort of takeaways from the press conference today. In terms of team news, he said Gabriel Jesus won't be fit. He said with Martin, it's still uncertain. Odegaard, the rest, there is no news. He talked about Martin Odegaard getting called up for his country, that sort of thing. He said, look, if he's fit, he's going to go. But whether he's fit remains to be seen. And like I said, we're going to pop over there very, very soon now to the training pitches, and we'll see if Martin Odegaard is involved. And that will be a very, very big clue as to whether he goes away with Norway, but more importantly, whether he is involved for Arsenal tomorrow night and against Burnley at the weekend.
Nketiah was having a go ahead.
Hello everyone, here we are on the outside pitches here at Colney. I would say you can probably see the players training behind me, but you can't because they're about 5 miles away. But trust me, they are over there somewhere, and not too much to report other than there's no Eddie Nketiah, no Odegaard, as we all pretty much expected. Of course, the long-term absentees aren't there, but there is no Eddie Nketiah. He is nursing a knock, we are told, from the Newcastle game. There's going to be a late assessment made on him ahead of tomorrow night's match. So no Nketiah. Everyone else there who is expected to be there, you would expect if there's no Eddie, probably Trossard up front tomorrow. Havertz is another option as well, but you'd probably go with Trossard, wouldn't you? With Martinelli and Saka either side of him. It's a formation and a sort of system that worked pretty well at times towards the end of last season. And I imagine that's probably the call that he could make. But yeah, that's the big news here. The players are going through their paces. Proper session will start once we get kicked out of here in about 5 minutes' time. But yeah, big news from London Colney. No Eddie Nketiah at the moment training ahead of Sevilla.